Okay, moving down into our lower limb, we come to the bone that exists in the thigh. Remember that the thigh is the portion of your lower limb that exists between your hip and your knee. This is called the femur. We have an anterior view of the right and left femurs. If we flip them over, we can see the posterior view of those bones. So how can we tell front from back? Let's just look at one of these for right now. I can tell that this is the posterior side of the femur for several reasons. First of all, I see a big groove here between our two condyles. So there's that big groove on the back side, and then it's not present on the front of that bone. So present on the back, but not on the front. The other thing that I can see here is if I look at the proximal end of this bone, I have a lesser trochanter, and then I can see a little bit of something called a greater trochanter. And then if I flip them over, I have sort of a little crust running between the two, and that's only present on the posterior side. Here's another structure present on the posterior side of the bone. This is called the linea aspera, or raised line, and that's only present on the posterior side of that femur. All right, so let's start on our proximal end, and then we'll move down to our distal end. We're going to get a little bit closer to this. Get a nice close-up view of the proximal end of our femur. Okay, here we have the head, and just below that, the neck. Next, we get these two large processes. This is called a lesser trochanter, and then all of this over here is the greater trochanter. We're now on the back side. Moving back around to the front or anterior side, lesser trochanter, and then greater trochanter, head, neck. Okay, moving down the bone, we don't see an awful lot here in the shaft unless we flip it over to the back, and there we see that raised line and this triangularly shaped rough spot, which is called the gluteal tuberosity. Guess what muscle attaches there? You got it, gluteus maximus attaches to that gluteal tuberosity. All right, I'm going to come back around to the front side of the bone, and we're going to slide down here to the distal end of the bone, the distal epiphysis. And what I notice is that we've got some smooth spots here, and then some rougher spots here and here. And if I flip it over to the back, again, smooth spots followed with some rougher spots just above them. These are the two condyles, and these are the two epicondyles. So we have medial and lateral condyles as well as epicondyles. Now, how can we tell what's medial and what's lateral? Well, to do that, we need a view of the entire bone, and we need to be able to locate that structure, the head. The head sits medially, so that makes this the medial condyle and medial epicondyle, and this then would be the lateral condyle and the lateral epicondyle. Let's try those same structures on the opposite femur. Okay, anterior posterior view of this femur. Flip it over. Nice and smooth on the front, and then we get that raised line on the back. So let's go back over to the front side, the anterior side. And again, we have the head, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter, linea aspera, the rough spot, gluteal tuberosity. Moving down here are two condyles, medial condyle, lateral condyle, medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle.